So the last few weeks have been nothing but really some problems kind of chain linked together, and I had some problems with my sewer. So I used this thing to see where the clog was. This is not sufficient for my problem. The sewer had clogged with some roots, and I believe the sewer line comes out this way towards that little blue flag and towards the tree. So I think that tree, it found a little crack in my sewer line. So I had Roto-Rooter come several months ago, and they took out the roots. The roots that I have in there are pretty freshly grown since the Roto-Rooter came there, and hopefully this will work just to kind of break up the roots. You can actually maintain these roots. You can kill them off, and this is a good tip from Bud Smith or something. So I appreciate his tip on this. And you can go to Menards or Home Depot or something, they'll have this copper sulfate in a crystal form, and then Root Reach is like a foam that you mix in with this, and then it'll foam up a lot and just get to all the roots that you need to. And I'm pretty confident that I'll be able to keep this clean. It's really frustrating when that happens. Your whole house basically is at a halt. So honestly, I've never used one of these before, but it looks self-explanatory. It's just a bigger version of that little snake I had. As I saw this in my step-grandfather's basement, and I couldn't figure out what it was and what it's used for, but now that I know, I could see that it's got a head on it, and there's a lot of different versions of different detachable heads that you could put on there. You just kind of ram it in there and get it clear. So this should be pretty self-explanatory as I do it, and luckily you could rent the snakes and the bigger machines to do it. So it wouldn't cost you over $200 to just have Roto-Rooter come for 20 minutes and just not even an hour. They were here, and they said that they couldn't get the bigger just manual snake down here because of I didn't have stairs on here before, and they weren't able to get the machine down here, so they had to use the water hydro jet thing, and they said it was gonna cost more, like $400. And I said, well, there's no way I could do that. And they said, okay, we'll knock it down to $230. So it was kind of just weird that they did that, but they used it. They just pretty much blasted out that really old blockage in there, and I saw what they were doing. And basically you could just do this by yourself for like $50. You could rent something at Home Depot if the root is big enough. This you could probably just buy or borrow from somebody if it's a smaller root thing, and then just put that root killer in there just to maintain it a couple times a year. So I think we're on the direction of DIY type stuff these days. I mean, we're heading in that direction where people are just doing things themselves. So I used that other snake thing, and I pulled this out, so I knew it was the root that was regrowing. And so now I just need to make sure it's all cleared out, and I see that it's all drained. It was just overflowing here, and that's a good sign, knowing that I have at least some passage through there, so it's trickling out. It'll make it easier for me to get that foam in there, knowing that I may not have to use this. I'll probably stick it down there anyways at some point just to clear it all out, but what I want to do is get that root killer in there already, and then get processing and killing the roots, and then I'll stick this in there when the roots are all dried out and brittle, crumbly or whatever. Then I'll be able to break it off a lot easier. So that's a good sign. Otherwise I would have had to stick this in there and get it clear first. And also what I'm going to do is, since it's clear, I'm just going to dump in some of the root killer and powder stuff, and I won't have to flush it down the toilet. This is if I go through the toilet, then I have all this other pipe that I have to, that the water is gonna come through before the foam actually gets to this point. And you want to try to get the closest access to the blockage as possible, so that the foam gets to it and you don't have to use as much. So luckily I have this access and it's dry, so I'm just going to go ahead and dump the crystals in there, and then I'll just kind of run it until it gets full a little bit, at least so I can see the liquid. And so just get the crystals in there and then do a flush, and then immediately it'll foam up and just go right to the root. So I guess on this setup, a lot of times the root kill is just right in one bottle and you just pour it in. And this one, the copper sulfate and the foaming agent is separate, so you have to kind of mix it. So you just read the directions, probably use half of it, get it down in there, and maybe in a couple weeks, maybe not a couple weeks, but maybe a couple days, I'll probably just do another one, and then another one, just to kind of keep those roots exposed to this stuff. So I really appreciate the comment that Bud Smith gave me, and it was on my mind. I took a note on it, and as soon as this started backing up, I knew what was going on. So I appreciate his comment. So that's why I appreciate all your comments on your suggestions. It really helps me. So some people have more experience than I do with this stuff, and I didn't even know about this before. So, and the Roto-Rooter people, they don't mention this stuff, and I really, because it cuts out on their business. And they're not going to mention this stuff to really kill it and maintain it. You probably the guys probably know about it, but they don't say it. It's just like the system we're in. You go to a car mechanic and he probably won't tell you things that you could prevent your car from, whatever, like cheap fixes, because it kind of cuts out on their business. But that's what my channel is about, is just finding these types of things that are real cheap to do on your own. So, and for innovative things in the future. It's just kind of a blue crystal type thing. So I dumped about half of that in there, and I'll get this foaming stuff, do about half of it. So I'll do the other half later. It's just piled up in there. And normally you just do this down the toilet, and as soon as it foams up, you flush right away, because it foams up really fast. But this way it gives me a great way of just getting in there really close to the clog. And now I just have to run water right through it. It'll get right down to it. So that's a big plus. I'm just gonna run some water, and I don't know if it'll foam up or what it's going to do, but we'll see. It's flushing it down, so it's good. You can still see the copper sulfate sitting there at the bottom of the crystals, so maybe I didn't mix it that well, but I'm gonna keep, oh, you can see it stopping there. Yeah, so it does look like it's backing up just a little bit. So I'll just leave it sit there. Then I'll come back later with this snake in a few days or something. I'll just clear the clog and then put some more copper sulfate down there after I feel like it's all clear, I'll just keep running water through it, flush it all out. So I did my first initial probe through this thing, and it's pretty self-explanatory. You just feed it through until you hit the blockage. So luckily this is clean water now, mostly clean I guess. So I put the copper sulfate in there for a few days, let it sit. I hit the blockage and I initially pushed it through, and then I turned on the faucet and then it started filling up again with water. And so I guess I didn't get quite all the way. So maybe I just pushed the clog further down or something and didn't really get it. And so I'll just keep just kind of ramming through there as far as I can. I'm glad I waited until it was clean, or at least mostly clean, because it's just easier to work with. You could see through it and stuff. I gotta put the camera down. It's easier to do it with two hands, but that's just pretty much it. I mean, I'll just keep doing it until I get it cleared up. If not, I'll have to call Roto-Rooter again. So I just barely hit the blockage again, I think, because I felt it kind of stiffening up again. Well, hopefully that's it. I don't know. I see it go down a little bit, I think. Yeah, I definitely hear it go down. So I'm on to something here. So I'm just gonna keep doing that. Yeah, it sounds hollow. So I'm gonna run more water and see if it fills back up. So I flushed a few times and it looks like it's getting cleared up. I'll keep ramming it through a little bit more. So I had the water running for several minutes now, so it looks like it's cleared up. It's good flow there. Looks like my step grandpa put an extra little wire on there. You could see the tree root on the end of it. That's a good idea. You could probably put even more wire at the end of it if you want to kind of get some claws at the end of it. So if you're having the same problem yourself, I'm going to put some links down below of some videos that I learned from that helped me understand this and what's going on here, and also some innovative future ideas about composting toilets and a Swedish way of septic stuff. So I'm doing more research on composting toilets, and a lot of people are doing some innovative things with that, and there are some really great ideas that are low maintenance. People are replacing their RV toilets, well, flush toilets, with composting toilets, because you're able to get rid of the black tank and it's a lot cleaner, it's a lot better, less maintenance, honestly. and you don't have to drive around and look for a dumping station and try to clean it all out and stuff. So, and then with a tiny house or even a home, you could add an extra bathroom without plumbing, and you can make them yourself for under $10. You can make them, or you can get more elaborate. The more I learn about composting toilets, the more I love them, and I think we're heading in that direction anyways, where they're going to be very handy in any kind of situation, any emergency situation. You can set one up, you can make one real quick in a day, and then you can have a really clean way of going to the bathroom that's not disgusting, it doesn't smell, and you know how to treat it, and it requires no water, and there's no pipes to freeze and no pipes to clog up. There's going to be a time that we're not going to be able to call anybody, and we're going to have to figure out on our own anyways, because people are already going through natural disasters, fires, hurricanes, and all these things, or floods on an island somewhere. This is why I want to learn all these things on my own, and I want to share it and share all the resources, because we're going to eventually face those problems if we haven't already, and we won't be able to call a professional or call anybody to help, and we got to know these things for ourselves. And I'm going to do a video on this as well in the future. But these problems like this sewage problem and everything, this is what triggers my drive to do this, and I want to find these new innovative things of doing it. Now, I don't know everything, but I am encouraged enough with what I know that we don't have to rely on this stuff that we've got. We don't have to, and it's encouraging me, and it's giving me this sense of great optimism for the future. Even if the economy crashes or people lose their jobs or whatever, if we have our own innovations and ways of doing it ourselves, that's a lot cleaner, a lot better for the environment anyways, and we don't have to fear the future at all. We can just be like, okay, let the crash come. But anyway, keep the faith.